Afghanistan, 2002. A Special Forces patrol goes dark in the Hindu Kush Mountains. When the rescue team enters the cave, they find blood, equipment, and something else. Something that stands 4 meters tall, with hair like fire and hands that don't belong on anything human. This is not a legend. This is a classified military encounter that someone tried very hard to bury. They call it the Giant of Kandahar. Military personnel who were there call it something else. A nightmare that confirmed every ancient text we were told to dismiss as mythology. Because on that day in 2002, American soldiers didn't just fight Taliban insurgents, they fought something that according to modern science shouldn't exist. A being from another time. Or perhaps something that never left. The official record says nothing happened. No giant, no bodies, just another routine patrol in hostile territory. But the men who were there tell a different story. A story of a creature standing over 4 meters tall, covered in reddish hair, with 6 fingers on each hand and a double row of teeth that gleamed in the darkness of that cave. A story of modern weapons against something that moved faster than it had any right to. A story the Pentagon classified the moment the body was loaded onto that C-130. And here's what they don't want you asking. If this was just a tall tale, why did they classify it? Why did witnesses face intimidation? Why did a cargo pilot risk everything to speak about what he transported that night? Let's start with what we know. The initial patrol consisted of 12 men. Elite operators, the kind of soldiers who don't spook easily. They were tracking Taliban activity in a remote cave system in the Kandahar province when communications went dead. Standard protocol: send in a rescue team. What the rescue team found wasn't standard at all. Inside the cave, signs of a struggle, equipment scattered, blood. And then, in the deeper chamber, illuminated by their tactical lights, they saw it. The giant was feeding. One soldier described the smell, a combination of sulfur and rotting meat so intense that 2 men immediately vomited. The creature turned. 4 meters of muscle and rage. Red hair covering most of its body. Eyes that reflected their lights like an animal's. And those hands, those impossibly large hands with 6 fingers each, one of which was still gripping a spear, a crude weapon that looked older than recorded history. The firefight lasted less than 2 minutes, 30 seconds of full automatic fire. The giant charged. It killed 1 soldier, impaling him with that spear with such force that the weapon went through body armor designed to stop rifle rounds. But modern weaponry, when concentrated, wins. Eventually, when it fell, the cave shook. Here's where it gets interesting. The team called it in. Within hours, not days, hours, a specialized unit arrived. Not medical, not standard recovery. A unit that, according to multiple sources, deals with anomalous materials. They photographed everything. They took samples. And then they removed every trace that the encounter ever happened. Except they couldn't remove the memories. They couldn't silence everyone. The pilot's testimony is what breaks this story open. A cargo pilot stationed in Afghanistan in 2002, he was ordered to fly an unscheduled mission. No manifest. No advance notice. Just coordinates and a warning. Ask no questions, file no reports. When he arrived at the forward operating base, he watched them load it. A cargo container, custom built, roughly 5 meters long. It required a forklift and 8 men to secure. The weight distribution was wrong, he noticed. Not equipment, not supplies. Something organic, something heavy. He asked what it was. He was told to forget he saw anything. That's when he knew. During the flight, he heard sounds from the cargo hold. Not mechanical sounds, shifting, like something was settling. He radioed back. The response was silence. Then, tersely, maintain course. When they landed at Bagram, a team was waiting. Not regular personnel. Men in unmarked uniforms with credentials that superseded everyone on base. They unloaded the container in a restricted hangar and the pilot was debriefed. The debrief wasn't about the flight. It was about ensuring his silence. They offered him a choice: forget or face consequences that would destroy his career and credibility. He stayed quiet for years. But eventually, guilt won. Because if this was real, if giants walk among us, hidden in cave systems and classified in hangars, What else is the government hiding? This is where ancient text meets modern warfare. Genesis 6 talks about the Nephilim, giants who walk the earth, the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men. For centuries, scholars dismissed this as allegory, metaphor, exaggeration by primitive peoples who didn't understand the world. But what if they understood perfectly? The description matches. Giants. 6 fingers is specifically mentioned in 2 Samuel 21:20. There was a man of great stature who had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. The double rows of teeth align with descriptions from multiple ancient cultures. The Sumerian texts speak of the Anunnaki, beings of tremendous size who dwelt in mountains and caves. The Book of Enoch, removed from most biblical canons, details how these beings were driven underground, hidden away until a time of judgment. Hidden underground, in caves, in places like Afghanistan. The question isn't whether giants existed. The archaeological record confirms skeletal remains of abnormally large humanoids have been found and systematically suppressed or lost from museum collections. The question is, did they all die out, or did some survive, hidden in the deepest, most remote places on Earth? Afghanistan's cave systems are among the deepest and most extensive on the planet. Unmapped, unexplored. During the Soviet invasion, soldiers reported encountering things in the mountains that command dismissed as altitude sickness and stress. But the reports were consistent. Large humanoid figures, disappearances, entire squads gone without trace. What if the giant of Kandahar wasn't alone? What if it was a remnant population, surviving in the depths, emerging only when their territory was threatened? Here's what doesn't make sense if this was just a hoax or misidentification. The response. The immediate, overwhelming response. The specialized units. The classification. The intimidation of witnesses. The removal of all physical evidence. You don't deploy that level of operational security for a bear. You don't threaten soldiers with court-martial for discussing wildlife. You do that when something challenges the fundamental narrative of human history. When something proves that we're not alone, that we never were, and that the beings from our oldest stories are real. The classification suggests 2 possibilities. First, that this is part of a larger pattern of encounters that the military has been documenting and suppressing for decades. Second, that there's strategic value in keeping this secret. If hostile nations knew that ancient beings inhabited remote regions, that biblical creatures weren't extinct, the geopolitical implications would be catastrophic. Religious upheaval, panic, a complete restructuring of human self-understanding. Or maybe it's simpler. Maybe they're preparing, training, equipping for a war they know is coming but can't publicly acknowledge. Because if one giant survived in Kandahar, how many more are waiting in the thousands of unexplored cave systems across the planet? But here's the piece that keeps military analysts awake. Why was the giant there? Random cave dwelling seems inconsistent with intelligent behavior. The spear suggests tool use, planning, purpose. So what was it protecting? The rescue team reported something else in that cave. Symbols carved into the walls. Not Arabic, not any known language. Geometric patterns that seem to predate human civilization. And in the deepest chamber, before the giant attacked, they saw what looked like a doorway. Not natural, constructed, sealed. They never got to investigate. The firefight erupted. The giant died. And the specialized unit that arrived sealed that cave entrance with explosives. Officially, to prevent Taliban use. Unofficially, to prevent anyone from ever discovering what lay beyond that sealed door. Ancient texts describe the Nephilim as guardians, watchers, beings tasked with protecting knowledge and technology that predated the flood, that came from the antediluvian world. The Book of Enoch specifically states that fallen angels taught humanity forbidden knowledge, metalworking, weaponry, astronomy, and something else, something that the texts call the secrets of heaven. What if the giant of Kandahar wasn't a mindless beast? What if it was doing exactly what it was created to do, guarding something that humanity wasn't supposed to find? Technology, artifacts, evidence of a civilization that existed before recorded history. evidence that might explain where these giants came from and who or what created them. Since 2002, something shifted in military protocol. New units formed. Training scenarios changed. Deep cave warfare became a specialized field. Weapons development focused on threats that standard rifles couldn't handle. Exoskeleton programs accelerated. Armor-piercing rounds received new funding. Why? The official answer is urban warfare adaptation, improved readiness. But soldiers talk, and what they talk about is training for encounters with high-value, non-standard threats. Simulations involving targets of unusual size and strength. Briefings about cave systems that are marked as no entry zones, even when strategically valuable. The infrastructure is being built. The training is happening. And it's not being done for conventional warfare. This is preparation for something else. Something that learned lesson of Kandahar wasn't that giants don't exist. It's that next time they need to be ready. The question that haunts military strategists: how many are there? The giant of Kandahar was killed, but it died hard, and it took one trained operator with it. If there are populations of these beings in cave systems worldwide, and if they ever organized, humanity's technological advantage shrinks rapidly in close quarters combat, where their size and strength matter most. So let's put it together. Ancient texts describe giants as real beings. Archaeological evidence suggests large humanoids existed. Modern soldiers encounter a 4-meter-tall creature that matches biblical descriptions perfectly. The government immediately classifies everything, threatens witnesses, and begins preparing for similar encounters. The conclusion is unavoidable. They know. They've always known. The myths aren't myths. Genesis 6 wasn't allegory. The Nephilim didn't die out. They went underground, into the deepest caves, the most remote mountains, places where humans rarely ventured. And they waited. But now, with modern warfare reaching every corner of the planet, with special forces operations penetrating the deepest cave systems, we're finding them again. And they're finding us. The giant of Kandahar wasn't an anomaly. It was first contact. Or rather, renewed contact after thousands of years. The military knows this. They're preparing for it. The question is, what are they preparing for specifically? Defense or something more ambitious? If these beings guard ancient technology, ancient knowledge, is the goal to eliminate them or to take what they're protecting? And here's the nightmare scenario that keeps Pentagon analysts awake. What if the giants aren't the endgame? What if they're the guardians, as the ancient texts claim, and there's something beyond them, something they were created to keep sealed away? What if Kandahar wasn't about killing a giant, but about accidentally opening a door that was supposed to stay closed? But if these giants survived in the caves, if they've been hiding for millennia, where did they come from originally? What technology brought them here or created them? The answer may not lie in the mountains of Afghanistan at all. Because while American forces were discovering giants in Kandahar, on the other side of the Middle East, in Iraq, another unit was uncovering something even more disturbing. In the ruins of ancient Babylon, beneath a palace older than written history, they found a doorway. A massive stone arch covered in the same symbols that were carved in that Afghan cave. And according to classified reports that leaked in 2007, when they activated it, something came through. The military calls it the Babylon Stargate. And what emerged from it made the giant of Kandahar look like a warning shot. Because if the giants were the guardians, what were they guarding us from? That answer is waiting in Iraq. And it's worse than anyone imagined.